Russian-installed authorities in southern Ukraine are delaying a referendum on whether Kherson should become part of Russia. Officials cited the security situation, a rare acknowledgement of the Ukrainian counteroffensive there. Kiev says it's making progress and has taken several settlements in southern and eastern Ukraine. This video, obtained by Reuters, appears to show soldiers raising a Ukrainian flag in one small town in Kherson region. Kiev began its long-awaited counterattack last week. For more, let's speak to DW correspondent Nick Conley. He's in Kiev. Nick, the occupying authorities in Kherson say they cannot hold their planned annexation referendum, for security reasons. Is this a sign, Nick, that Ukrainian forces are making headway in their efforts to retake Kherson?
I think it definitely is. We didn't really ever have a concrete date, but we did understand that they wanted to hold this referendum, which really reminds us of what Russia's playbook was in Crimea back in 2014, around kind of the middle of this month of September. I don't think they're going to give up on trying to do that, but certainly for now that is not on the cards. It's just too hot right now in Kherson, seemingly hourly shelling of Russian positions there by Ukraine. Lots of video on social media that's very difficult to verify of attacks on Russian weapons depots, but also on the infrastructure, on the bridges across the Dnipro River. I think it's important to remember that this is a very localized offensive. This is just about the west bank of the Dnipro River. There's a small section of territory there that Russia controls that's easy for Ukraine to isolate and to cut off from supply. This is not bigger. This is not about the much bigger part of southern Ukraine that is still fairly comfortably in Russian hands. But certainly this is a blow, and we have been seeing Russian pro-government bloggers being a bit more open there about the damage that the Ukrainian forces are doing, and really kind of warning and kind of demanding more in the way of supplies and military focus from Russia's leadership to prevent really Ukraine making inroads here. Kherson is a really important symbolic target. This was the first major city that Russia was able to take from Ukraine right at the beginning of the war, with a pretty shambolic Ukrainian defense. So if it proves possible for Ukraine to retake this city, that really will be a sign to Ukrainians, but also to the wider world, that Ukraine is able to really push back this Russian tide.
Talk to us, Nick, about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says it's on the verge of disaster. What's going on at that power plant right now?
This is a very, very dangerous situation. This is Europe's biggest nuclear power plant, one of the biggest worldwide, and one that is on the front lines. And we've seen video and photo images on the internet that seem to show Russian military positions, Russian military kit on the territory of that nuclear power station, sometimes even inside the structures of this power plant. Now, as we understand, only one of the 6 blocks is currently operational, but there is shelling going on every day in and around that plant. We saw those international monitors from those outside bodies trying to come in and trying to get an idea of what's the situation on the ground. They still haven't released their report in full, but there is a feeling that this is a time bomb, and that unless this power plant is fully shut down, this is something that could really pose harm not only to people in Ukraine but also to most of Europe. I think it's also important to remember that it's not just the danger of a direct hit, but even if the power plant is operational, if, for instance, the energy supply to the plant is interrupted for some time, that could affect the cooling and could lead to the kind of disaster that we saw in Chernobyl. So it's not just about direct hits, it's about any kind of interruption to the work of this power plant that is exceedingly dangerous to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in this part of Europe.
Nick, thank you very much for now. Our correspondent Nick Conley there in Kiev.